Okay, welcome everyone to the Board of Selectmen's special meeting tonight, August 3rd, 2021. I am Mike Gergo, the first selectman, joined by Anita Kincaid, selectwoman, Bob Carlson, selectman, Christine Dias, admin finance for the town. We have an abbreviated agenda for this special meeting. The first item on the agenda is public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. We do respectfully ask that public comments do not exceed 2 minutes in respect for everyone's time. I'm imagining there are no public comments from the audience here in person. And if there are not, we would see if there's any online. Bailey? It's not required, but certainly always welcome. We have no public comments. And am I correct assuming there's none in person? Okay. The first item on the agenda then, which is actually the third item, is the kayak launch update. And I'm very thankful that Bill Ricker, our chairman of the Conservation Commission and really the champion for this initiative, has joined us here today to give us a little update. And just for a little bit of a not to steal any thunder from Bill's update, but this is something that we have been talking about for a while, and we are finally have gotten things in place to move this forward. But before really moving it forward, wanted to talk with the selectmen and kind of get a get a good update for everybody and be able to answer any questions that the selectmen might have about it. Bill, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here. Was you?
don't say. How much shall I repeat? In brief? Okay. So, in brief, for the past 2 years, we have sought for a piece of property which the Mash Pequots have allowed us to pursue. And a contract has been signed between the town and the Mashantuckets with a liability waiver so that our public can be able to launch our kayaks and canoes from that Boom Bridge Road site. With that effort in mind, I contacted the conservation commissions in Westerly, in Hopkinton, and the Economic Development Commission in Stonington. They were all massively supportive of this effort. And we got together over a year ago, our first selectman and the town manager from Westerly, the first selectman at the time, Rob Simmons from Stonington, and their entourage, all were very supportive of seeing this as the potential of a tourist attraction for the area. Now, the tourist attraction obviously would not benefit North Stonington. We don't have any Dunkin' Donuts or Dairy Queen up there, but it provides what our Conservation Commission has longed for, and that is a continuation of education, of a beautiful wild and scenic river, recreation for our public, and use of the beautiful river. To that end, in short, through a grant from our town's grant writer, we received a $1,000 grant, which has been used in part for the development of a sign to be placed at the entrance of the trail. And if you're questioning where that may be, and for the public's information, as you go down Boom Bridge Road and take that 90-degree sharp turn over the bridge into Westerly, if you were to go straight ahead onto Mashantucket Pequot land, there is a dirt trail which will lead in about 70 yards down to the launch site, which our Conservation Commission will be next Sunday, if you all approve, be working with the Westerly Conservation Commission in clearing this site for our use. I understand, Mike, that you are hoping to have a grand opening with the town manager and you, Westerly and North Stonington. If that happens, we're hoping to team up with that. We're hoping to, I will get in touch with the 4 towns, encouraging them to bring their kayaks and canoes on this opening day. Contact the Rhode Island Kayak and Canoe Association, who's been very supportive of us, and the federal government. A woman who's located in Boston, Lauren Benetatis, I believe is her name. I may have gotten that wrong. Has been very helpful and has said they now have federal money that may be helpful to us in the future. Okay. So what you have in front of us is a brochure. I have asked for 500 of these to be printed from that $1,000 grant that we received. I have the signs all ready to be put up, or they will be ready in a week's time to be put up. And that, my friends, is the long and short of it.
Bill, thank you very much. We'll certainly open it up for questions, but I'll just, I'm sure, echo what everyone's going to say, and that's thank you for the effort and this foresight on this really exciting project for North Stonington. I have reached out to the town manager in Westerly. We had all talked about having more of a grand opening of Boom Bridge when COVID was behind us. COVID's not really behind us, but I think things are open a lot more. So maybe we can do something like that. I have not heard back from them on that date, but I will follow up again tomorrow. With that, questions from the selectmen or comments? Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Bill. First, thank you so much for your work on this. I just bought 2 kayaks this summer. We've used them quite a bit, as you know, and looking forward to try this. I have a question. So when you go over Boom Bridge, aren't you in Westerly at that point?
Correct.
But you're just taking a right there, or is it before the bridge you're taking the right?
Immediately before the bridge, still in Connecticut in North Stonington, there is the dirt trail that goes straight ahead. So if you miss taking the right turn to go over the bridge, you will go right into Mashantucket land.
Okay, so is there, how many parking spaces are there for?
Keith Gove, who is the Mashantucket's representative and the one who shared the area with Mike Ergo and I some 2 months ago, I think now, pointed out 2 areas. One which is already clear and could receive 2 to 4 cars. Another is an area that our Conservation Commission would need to clear, and with his approval, he's given his approval, would take a little more work on our part to open up those spaces. But for the purposes of our having a quote grand opening unquote, the end of this month, I hope, we would have no problem with parking several cars along that dirt road.
Okay, so you're thinking post Labor Day, the trail will be open for parking?
It's going to be ready to be open, I believe, Bob, after this Sunday when we spend the day clearing the launch site.
We have to move,
Thank you.
there's a gate that has to be moved back. The nice thing about how with Keith's idea is as far as where the launch site's going to be is it's down that road, it's down that dirt road a little bit. So it actually takes cars off of the road. So it's actually really an ideal scenario
Right.
for this. It's really great.
A better site than we had originally envisioned.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Nita.
Any other questions about this? Probably would be good just to look for a motion to allow the Conservation Commission volunteers to proceed with the clearing and opening of this kayak launch site and use the funds that were available in the grant. Is there a motion such as that?
So moved.
Say it again.
Second.
There you go. You had to wait for it to come on. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries 3-0-0. Bill, thanks for your patience and your perseverance, and to the whole commission and everybody who's going to be there Sunday. What time is the work happening?
At 9 o'clock, anybody who wants to bring a brush clipper, I'll have my chainsaw, and we'll be working to clear that site. We think that perhaps 3 to 4 hours, depending on the number of people who arrive, we'll be able to do the job.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, we'll look forward to hearing updates and circle back with me later this week. I'll circle back with the town manager in Westerly.
Good. Before I give up the floor, I've just given you another brochure, which is the historic hiking trail that the Conservation Commission has finished. What we did not have completed at the time is the QR at the very bottom. That will be completed within the week. The QR means that anybody using this hiking trail map, which is available both at the town hall, library, and Chelsea Groton Bank, as all of our trail maps are, they will be able to not only see the historic buildings throughout the center of the town, but they will click onto that QR and see a picture of the building that they're looking at and a brief history of the building, which would really enhance anybody coming into this historic district. So I just bring that to your attention. Thanks.
More good work. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 4. Call for special town meeting. So for the public's benefit, we had moved this item forward a couple of weeks ago, and it was through the rescue package funding. Nice to meet you. Thank you. because of the amount of this expenditure, though it seems as that we don't have to necessarily bring these expenditures from rescue package funding to town meeting. We are going to follow our normal appropriation process. And so this is over $20,000. I'm going to read the call for those that are not in attendance. Warning is hereby given to the electors and those entitled to vote at town meetings of the town of North Stonington that a special town meeting shall be held at the following location on the date and time indicated for the purposes of transacting the business set forth below. Location, North Stonington Education Center Media Center, 298 Norwich Westerly Road, and via Zoom with a link listed in the webinar ID listed. Date of August 23rd, 2021 at 7 p.m. For the purpose of verifying registered voters, those wishing to attend the meeting online and vote online will need to pre-register through the link provided by noon on August 23rd. In-person attendance will be available following COVID-19 guidelines. Number one, shall the town of North Stonington authorize the use of funds from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 for the North Stonington Volunteer Fire Company in the amount of $165,000 to be distributed equally over 3 years? That is the sole question on the meeting to be considered on the August 23rd date. And I will also mention in-person attendance will be available following COVID-19 guidelines. As of today, we have modified our guidelines both at town hall and at meetings that everyone will be required to wear masks. So that will be the COVID-19 guidelines that will be followed regardless of vaccination status. And not to get too into it, but there is, although when you are vaccinated, you're pretty unlikely to actually get the virus. It has a 95% efficacy rate, but you can possibly transmit it. And so we want to protect those who haven't been able to get the vaccine yet, especially those that are not eligible to get the vaccine, that have no choice. So that's the call. Anyone want to make a motion to accept the call?
Mike, I'll make a motion to accept the call as read.
Any further discussion on the call? Okay. All those in favor of the call signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 300. Item number 5. The updates to the governmental volume submitter money purchase plan. So this is for each year we go through the which is really, I guess, for better terms, the defined benefit plan for the town. And I've included the entire copy of it in your packet. There are 2 suggestions that came from the overseers of the plan. And one of them was in section 3.1. So these are amendments that we'll look to change here. The first one is to exempt part-time employees. We have exempted part-time employees, but it hasn't really been spelled out in the plan. So we want to just make that defined so there's just no question about it. So that's 3.1. That would be the change. That would be a change there, just to really call that out and be specific. The other changes are to remove the vesting period for the plan. So reasons for that, there's not data supporting that the vesting period is actually like keeping employees here. We're actually seeing employees stay regardless of the vesting period. We have employees that stay for 20, 30 years because the benefit is a good benefit. It's not really an equitable benefit. So unfortunately, the way it's worded, it's that if anybody's like 59 and a half, I think, or more, it doesn't apply to them. But for the younger employees, it actually does apply. So it's not really an equitable benefit for all employees. Yeah. And the other thing is with us having, like, for instance, right now we're going out to try to get a PDZO. And when I've looked at what we're paying that position, although it might seem like a lot of money to people, it's not actually really as much as what you're seeing in other positions. So removing the vesting period on it actually makes it a little more attractive to attract qualified staff to have something that they'd be able to immediately, not immediately, but immediately as far as when the your eligibility for the plan comes into play, which is either January 1 or July 1, depending on your start date. So it takes this 5-year thing out of the equation. And that affects, I think, just sections 4.1 and 8.2. So those are the two amendments that were recommended. And although I could sign off on these, according to the fact that the first selectman actually is the administrator of the plan, I wanted to bring them forward to the board to discuss.
Mike, you talk so quickly. Is the.
Can you just
one-
put your microphone?
I'm sorry.
It's on,
Yeah,
just talking to
okay,
it.
Yeah. Tell me again, this last one about the kind of person. Are we talking about the one we're going to be hiring? Is that what you're talking about?
So it would apply to any new employees, but this, if we're to make this amendment, what would happen is right now there's a vesting period. By if you hire somebody, first of all, they are not eligible to participate in the plan until the date, either January 1st after their hire or July 1st after their hire, after 1,000 hours of service. So yes, the new person that we hire would, once they've achieved those qualifications, would be vested automatically. And that's going to help us as we're trying to attract people in a field where there's not a lot of people anyway. That's just one position. This applies to all town positions, but that's one of the benefits to eliminating that requirement. And then the others that I mentioned.
Okay, so it would be a union person.
The person we're hiring is going to be a union position. Yes, it is a union position. And we'll talk more about the staffing afterwards.
But it could be a non-union position also.
It could,
It could be someone like ourselves, not selectmen, but first selectmen.
this applies to the first select.
Right, so
Oh.
I have a question and comment. I'm not for changing the vesting, and I'll tell you why. Vesting, there's an explanation why you have vesting. Vesting is someone has vested interest. Vested interest doesn't happen in a short period of time. My feeling is, what if we had a first selectman elected for 2 years and he or she did not do a very good job, and instead of we just don't elect them again after 2 years, but now we're paying them for not doing a very good job, even though they're not reelected 2 years later. We can get an employee that comes in, and after about a year, we decide to terminate that employee for whatever reason, because they're not doing the job we had hoped they had done, and now they're vested. They didn't put the 5 years in. So my feeling is that there should be a vesting period. And I don't know why we're changing this now. I know you said, Mike, that is this going to go to a vote? Is this something you're just going to do in your own, or?
No, I'd like for us to vote on it. I think part of the reason that we would consider this is trying to attract staff. Like, so for instance, if you want to bring up the first selectman position right now, you're running, which is known, you meet the qualifications for immediate vesting. So if there were someone else who wanted to potentially run that was younger, we already now cut the salary of the position, and that person also wouldn't have the opportunity to be vested. That's just one position. But the difference between this type of plan and like pension plans, as you would say, this is every year the town just makes a contribution to this plan. This isn't something that's a long-term liability for the plan like other pension plans with the state, for instance, where they have long-term liabilities. You hear about pension plan. We don't have that here. This is each year the town makes their contribution, and that's the last liability that we have for this. It's not like they have to have some level of long-term liability. It's not how
No,
this
but the more
works.
people you have collecting pension, the more it costs the town, correct?
No, that is not correct on this plan. That's why I think there's a misconception about this plan. It doesn't cost the town anything in the long term. All it costs the town is on a yearly basis. Scott, Christine, you want to add to it?
So the way that we handle the pension during budget time is that we, in the fringe calculations for everyone, we put in whether they are pension eligible at that time or not. We put, because we assume they're going to still be here at that 5-year point. So we put in the budget their contribution and we fund it into the pension when we do. So beginning of August every year, we do the previous year's pension amount. So you have to, with removing the 5-year vesting schedule, you'll still have to work 1,000 hours. And then once you get to 1,000 hours, either January 1st or July 1st, then you'll be vested. But if you leave before the end of that year, you do not get, you're no longer eligible. So if we had someone who was terminated or quit and they weren't here on June 30th, they would not be eligible to receive the contribution. And if we had someone who was elected that only served for one term, it shouldn't matter if they're under 59 and a half or if they're 60, whether they get that benefit or not. You know, hopefully they're going to do a good job no matter what,
But if they don't do a good job and they don't get reelected, they're still going to get the pension.
but if they're 60, they would get the pension.
That's the thing. It's not equitable. So like the last selectman that we've had. So basically the way it is for that position, this applies to everybody, Bob. For that particular position, you're actually, I don't want to say it's discriminatory, but I mean, in a way, it's kind of like basically stacking the deck so that younger people aren't going to really be interested. I mean, that's just one position. The data that for this, and this is why it's being brought forward, doesn't support it because we're not seeing people leave. You would think the point of having something like this would be, okay, we want people to stay for a long time. They already stay for a long time because it's a good benefit. The point of this is that when I look at the fact that we're going to try to now hire somebody in a position that we're not that competitive on the salary. We're not. I just got the data from the Connecticut Council of Governments. This is an added thing that would help potentially attract good candidates. And that's for all the positions that we have. I mean, I think we want to, the point is we're already funding it every year. We're already funding it. It's not like we're doing anything new here. All we're doing is making it more attractive to try to retain staff and attract staff when we have openings.
So you say we're already funding it, but the more people that benefit from it, I can't imagine it doesn't cost the town more money in the long run.
We're not changing the number of eligible people. The same number of positions are eligible. We fund them whether you're 20 years old and just started and you're only going to work 4 years, or you're 60 years old and you're going to work here for 30.
But once you're no longer working for the town, aren't you drawing some sort of a pension pay on a monthly basis or a semi-annual basis? Or
That's all defined in the plan. It has to do with the retirement age. And if you, right, the way it stands right now, if you work here, if you're under the 59 and a half and you work here for 3 years, you don't get that money. This would, but if you are 59 and a half and work here for a year, you get the money. So this is just making it more equitable across the board, but it's not increasing the number of positions that we're funding.
And
We're still funding all the highway people and all the town hall staff.
you are, but when someone leaves, you're then paying them a pension if they're here for 5 years.
They get the set amount that has been contributed for the number of years they've been here. There's no, it's not like
We don't have a
traditional state
long-
worker pension.
Yeah, we
that-
don't have a long-term
Yeah.
liability. So like what happens right now, Bob, I think, and this is a great conversation because everybody needs to understand how this thing works. The town is liable for the amount of people that we are contributing for based on the people we have in the town. It doesn't matter how long they've been here. We're paying into that for each of those people. If somebody leaves, it's not like we have some long-term liability on the person. The only liability the town has is for the amount of money that they have already owned in their account, which we've already contributed on a year-to-year basis. So there's not some amount that the town owes because it doesn't matter when they leave. Like we have, if they have earned, $5,000 in that account, whether they're here for a year or they're here for 5 years or they're here for 20, it doesn't really matter at all. That money's already been allocated for that person. The difference is what happens is if with the vesting, if the person leaves and we have this eligibility requirement, if the person leaves and they leave before they're vested, that money, it doesn't cost the town anything more. That money ends up just going into the pool. So that person basically just doesn't get it.
So it goes into the pool. So in essence, it's in the bank for the town.
I don't know that I would say it's in the bank for the town. So there's a couple ways that I think the money can be allocated. It's either could be in the pool of investments for the rest of the participants. I mean, that's the money is in investments already. So all I'm saying is that I believe the best thing to do here, because it's not an equitable situation, is to eliminate that so that we're attracting more people. We have a more attractive package for the town, and it's not going to cost the town any more money. It's not something it's not an added expense for the town.
So I don't think that a pension plan adds that much to a position. I mean, I didn't even know we had one when I ran for selectman. So it's, and maybe it's different for someone trying to get hired as a land use officer or something. But again, my feeling is that I don't know why we're changing this. And let me ask the question: does this affect you personally?
It would affect me, yes.
So does that mean you will not vote on this?
I'm not sure because I think it affects the town as well. I might exempt myself from it. So I could exempt myself so I don't actually obtain my funds. Which
it just doesn't seem right to have this come up now when we've had a pension plan. And if it affects you personally, I don't know why you brought this forward at this point when we had a pension plan.
there's three reasons that I brought it forward right now. The timing of it is I have to bring it forward right now because it's the start of the year, and that's why this is the timing that we look at this kind of stuff. That's the first reason. The second reason is we're hiring for one of our top executive positions for the town right now, and I think it's really important that we talk about this at this particular moment. The third reason is we are currently looking for people to run for the chief elected official position in the town. And we have already now absolutely slashed the salary. Now, you remember, I was the one who advocated for removing the first selectman from the pension plan, the defined benefit plan. I said we should just get rid of it altogether. But since we have now reduced that salary to such a level, I think it's important that we give every possible benefit to attracting good candidates. I know that you're running, but it would be nice if there were more people who are interested in running as well. And Christine, did you say there was something else I forgot?
Yes, so every 5 or 6 years, we're required by the federal government to review and refile our pension, and that came up this year. So they told us that if there were any changes we wanted to make, this was the time to do them because we already had to do a pension review and pay for it because it had to be refiled with the federal government. So that's the other reason that this is happening now.
Okay, in your own words, when we hire someone, we expect them to stay 5 years, and historically, all our employees, for the most part, stay 5 years.
They stay longer than 5 years.
So I don't know why we would change the pension plan. Why is this even an issue then?
So I mean, you're not listening to what
I am. It's already on the table for the new possible employee that, hey, we have a pension plan. If you get here 5 years, you're going to benefit from it. And you just said typically people stay more than 5 years. So why would it even? It's already in the offering for the new employer.
So that's one reason that I support it, and it's not. People stay longer than that, Bob. They stay 10 years. They stay 15 years. I mean, we've got people who've stayed for 50 years. I have the two other reasons that I had for that were that it's not equitable. It's not equitable for it's not equitable for younger people. So right now, if you're your age or somebody who's 59 and a half, it doesn't apply to you.
So why don't we make that change and make it equitable? So it's 5 years for everyone, including there's no age, even if you're over 59 and a half years.
I asked that question. We can't do that. That was my first ask. I asked if that was possible. That's not something that's possible. It's not legal.
So I can't defer out of the pension plan?
No,
If I'm elected for a selectman, can I defer out of it?
The Board of Finance already said they didn't want that to happen. I mean, you can take it back up when you're first selectman if you'd like. Did you have something to add, Christine? No? Sorry, I thought you had something to add.
Oh, yes. So while the majority of our employees do stay beyond the 5 years and much, much longer, we have had some leave at 4 and change. So it's actually not an incentive to stay. So it goes both ways.
Right.
So the 5 years is not a magic number. And I will say, while it is not necessarily something an elected official is looking at as a working employee of the town, I will say it is something that people, when they're looking to apply for jobs, are looking at and comparing that when they're comparing their
But-
offers, I will say as someone myself.
Yeah, so typically though, when we interviewed you for the job and the pension plan was as it is today, 5 years, you didn't think that you were coming in, if we hired you for the job for only 1, 2, or 3 years. You say it's not a deterrent, but who's left in 4.5 years?
We've had our tax collector left. We have had, I think most of the other people, I don't know if there's anybody else that's off the top of my head, but we have had people leave.
So that particular case, they did not receive the monies put in for the
That's
pension.
correct. They did not.
Well, excuse me, but Juliet came back.
Right.
That was a continuation of employment. It wasn't a new term.
It was a continuation
Mm.
because she was here before?
Yes.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
I-
So
I
that's
don't know
how-
if we should be speaking about any individual personally. And
No, we
you know,
should talk by position. That's
Oh, I'm
correct, Bob.
sorry. Sorry.
No, that's okay. But actually, the way the plan reads, and you should read through it, so you should become
No, I read through it.
familiar with it. Yeah. If somebody does come back in a period of time, they actually do continue their eligibility based on the way it's written right now. And again, that takes that out of the equation as well. It's confusing. This is just a simplification. It's not costing the town any more money. It's creating a more equitable situation. The data doesn't support having it in place. This isn't like we use the word pension plan for this. It's not a pension plan. It's a defined benefit plan. It's different. That's the difference. This isn't like what the state has and they have this long-term liability for a plan. We don't have that. We don't have some sort of, bank account that the town's going to be paying for. It's these people's money that they have earned by working here for over the 1,000 hours and being eligible. All we're doing is making them eligible for it immediately, and it creates an equitable situation for all employees.
Okay, so I'll make one more comment, then I'll be done. So when we interview, it's already part of their plan. It's a 5-year vesting. It's their money. If they stay 5 years, we'd never hope we'd hire an employee that wouldn't stay at least 5 years. Even though Christine says it's not a deterrent to leave early, we only have one example that I can think of that you just brought up that left early. Since it's already part of the plan, I don't know why at this time, why we're changing it if it's already in there. And you yourself said that most of our employees stay 5 or 10 or more years. So we don't have a history of people coming and going quickly. And if we did, they'd be getting monies from this non-pension plan, if that's what you're calling it, that they wouldn't normally get if they left with before 5 years. So as far as the not being equitable for 59 and a half and over, again, I can defer from it. It's not a big deal. I'd rather see it be the same for all, young and old.
You can defer from it, but others can't defer from it. I mean, you're the chief elected official, so you probably can defer from it. I haven't looked into the legality of that. I don't know. If it can be done, I don't know. Others can't.
But why can't it be the same for all? Why can't?
It can't be. That's why I'm bringing it to you. I asked that question. If we could just make it so not just 59 and a half, everyone can be applied to it's not legal. That's why it's not fair. It's not an equitable plan for people. I don't think it's fair for the younger employees that they don't, and especially, again, I think I've already laid it out, my reasoning for bringing this forward, and absolutely true. I mean, if you think it's better, if you have a problem with the fact that I'm going to benefit from this, if this were to go through, I can exempt myself and leave my money on the table. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think this is going to help us to attract people in the best way that we could for the town.
So Mike, you just said it's not fair, it's not legal, and it can't be changed. How is that possible?
You were asking if you could make people that are 59 and a half and younger people.
The same.
Right.
And you said it's not fair.
It's not legal to have, you can't exempt them. You can't do the same thing like making it so everyone is exempt from the 5-year. Like you can abolish the vesting.
But why can't you change the 15 and a half to a 5-year vesting and make it all the same that way?
You can't. It's not legal. That part isn't legal.
So you're saying it's not fair, it's not legal, and it can't be changed.
think you're putting words in my mouth. I
No.
don't understand what you're.
So
what you're
you just said
saying.
it's not, we can't make 59 and a half and over the same as younger people, which would make the plan all the same for everyone. So if you, is that what you said? You can't change it. So 59 and a half and younger people all at 5 years. You're saying, using me as an example, since I'm over 59 and a half, that I would benefit from it immediately. And you're telling me we can't make 59 and a half and over the same as the 5 years it takes for younger people. Is that what you're saying?
Because it's a retirement plan. So when you hit normal retirement age, which is 59 and a half, you're vested.
Okay, so that's nothing to do with the plan. That's a retirement requirement.
That it's in the.
Right, I saw that.
Right.
So if it's a retirement requirement,
Because it's a retirement plan, we can't
then it
make
is,
it over retirement age.
then how can you say it's not fair when someone's worked their whole life and now they're over 59 and a half and you're saying it's not fair? It's a retirement plan that's put out by the state, I imagine.
It's not a retirement plan from the state. It's a defined benefit plan that the town signed up for before I was here. And I don't think it's equitable, but I think we can just agree to disagree on it. I mean, and that's fine.
So why don't we just vote on it?
Okay. No, we'll need it. Do you have any comments on it? You haven't said much.
No, I don't have any comments on it.
All right. Do we want to have any motions or? Okay. I mean, I'll make a motion to amend the plan to make the changes recommended by the benefit consultant to exempt the part-time employees and to remove the vesting schedule from the plan as detailed in the opening comments and in the paperwork that was provided. Do I have a second?
Question. I know we're in a motion. You added both the part-time requirement and the vesting. It's two different things. I'm for one and not for the other. So I don't know whether we should do it as two separate questions or do it as one question.
Can I just, the reason I'm not saying much is, I mean, I did read through this. I didn't understand that this part of it would be part of it. Okay, is it necessary to do it tonight or can it be at the next meeting where there's more time to?
Yeah, I think
Think
we
about
can
it.
talk. I don't think there's a rush on it. Yeah, we can definitely, in fact, maybe some more research would be beneficial. So,
So you want to table the motion, is that it?
yeah, I think I'll remove my motion and we can just add it to the next plan. And by the way, if there's some problem with, I believe this is the right decision. And if there's I want to be very clear. I can be omitted from this completely. Like if there's a worry that, well, gosh, Mike's going to get his vesting in this plan. I don't need to get the vesting in the plan. I don't have a problem if you just omit me from that and I'll leave my money on the table that I had earned. I don't have any problem with that at all. I don't want anyone to think this is about me. This is about, in my opinion, that the town setting itself up for the best chance to recruit the best employees, to retain the best employees, and to be as competitive as we can in the marketplace and be equitable. So,
And I agree, Mike, it's not it's nothing personal. It's not about you in particular. It's just in general, the plan. I don't understand why we're changing it, but we can just, you already removed the motion, so we can discuss it later.
yeah, I'll remove the motion and yeah, if I can get any more research to,
Yeah, I was going to say, could both of you put just a very basic thing together, not together, and we can all look at it.
actually, what I'm going to do is ask the pension people to put more of like a pros and cons list or something like that
Yeah.
together for you guys. For all of us, I've spoken with them. I have the benefit of having spoken with them about this. You have not. So again, that's usually what happens. I talk to people, bring the information back to you. But I'll bring you some information and then we can discuss it at our next meeting.
Good.
Okay. Moving on.
Thank you.
Yep. So staffing update. Couple things. We have applicants for the administrative assistant position, which we are in the process of reviewing right now. So we'll put for the hiring of that position, the last time it was me, me, our accounting generalist, and Christine were on the hiring team. I thought it would probably be appropriate if, Bob, you wanted to be involved in the hiring of that person. It's up to you.
Um,
You don't have to be.
no, I'm guessing it's administrative assistant. We know you'll be here through November. I have perfect confidence in the people that work in that building. So if it's you and Christine and Sue who have to work together, that's fine. I trust your judgment.
Okay. We'll be happy to hire the next person then. We'll move on that. The second part of it is the PDZO, which we did put the position out. I have met with chair of the EDC, chair of the planning and zoning, and talked about how it worked last time. And then I also followed up with the town attorney. I did pass on some correspondence to both of you on those discussions, which I assume you read, indicating how that hiring process should happen. So what I think should happen is we should put a hiring committee together, similar to what we did when we hired Christine. And it seemed to me that having a member or two of P and Z, a member or two of EDC, and again, Bob, I was going to see if it was something you wanted to be involved in, but
This I would definitely want to be involved in.
okay, so that's fine. So I'm happy to have you be involved in that as well.
So it'd be myself, the two chairs, and then one or two people, one person from each board besides the chair. Is that it?
Yeah, and the recommendation, which is quite common, was for me to put a hiring committee together. And I don't care if the Board of Selectmen puts the hiring committee together. And we don't have to do that tonight either, because we aren't going to be culling through the applications till next week. So
No, but that's what that's the direction you're going in, right? Is a committee with probably 5 or 6 members on it. We'll do the questions like we did before, where the same people ask the same questions. There's no different in questions, no follow-up. The only difference, I believe, is at the end when you say, is there anything you'd like to add? That would obviously be different for each candidate, but to make it fair for everyone, there's a series of questions. I think it was myself, you and Dan Spring, I think on the committee for Christine.
it was in Bill Ricker and myself, I think.
For Christine?
Yep, it was 5 of us.
No.
Yeah.
I was involved too.
Yeah, I know. It
Yeah,
was Austin,
okay.
I think Ricker and myself.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
But basically, we had a list of questions and we took questions and we did it the same way each time.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then I would probably suggest Christine is in the room as well, for that, just from like a HR side of things.
I think she'd be good at being in the room to answer questions from the HR side, since we really don't have an HR position. But as far as the committee, I would think that Christine would be better off to be not on the committee, but doing that particular role in the room would make sense.
I think that's what I was figuring, and that's what she and I discussed as well.
Yeah.
So what I can do is, since we don't need to necessarily appoint it tonight, if there's an agreement from the selectmen of a committee of 5 with representation of 2 from P and Z, 2 from EDC, we can either choose those people and appoint them, which I have no problem with, although I haven't talked to other individuals besides the chairs.
So would you appoint it, or would the chairs ask their committee members on who would like to serve on it?
The attorney's recommendation was the first selectman would just appoint the committee, but I thought I would just bring it to our board and just do it more collaboratively versus me appointing them.
Are you saying you're taking 2 people from P and Z and 2 people from, is that what you're saying?
From economic development, that's what I was
Why would you
suggesting.
put, why would you just not put 1 from each of those committees? I don't understand.
And that's the other thing we could do. We could just keep it simple and just make it a small.
Because I think in the past, it was a multiple from each committee when the hiring was for the last land use officer. So I think just staying with that. And I think it's because that person, he or she, works more with those 2 boards. So it gave other board members a chance to have input into the hiring. That's all. So it made sense to me to do that.
to do two from each
I
one.
think originally it was 3 from P and Z and 2 from EDC and 1 selectman, but I could be wrong on that.
Actually, everyone's recollection seems to be a little bit different on
Yeah.
this. I spoke with the chair of P and Z, and they felt like they actually were the only ones that really kind of took the lead on the hiring over the last few people that they've hired. And that's why I reached out to the attorney, because I wanted to make sure we do it correctly, however it is that we're doing it. And so that was the recommendation, was to put an executive committee together basically and have that, go through that process like we did last time. So that should be done with all hiring. I mean, we should be doing
Should
that.
we have
We
the,
have done it that way.
should we have the 2 chairs put forth names so we don't appoint someone that doesn't want to do it? I mean, should they put forth names on there? If Lou and Brett ask their members, would you be willing to do this if appointed? Then we'd have names to choose from.
Ask them for multiple names.
Hmm.
That's a good idea.
I would hate to appoint someone that says they don't have time and they can't do it.
Okay, I'll ask them to ask each of their committees who is interested, in that we will choose.
And I'd be interested as a selectman.
Yes, I figured that. Okay, great.
And it is it, well, I don't know, I'm not gonna go down that road, never mind. I'm not gonna go down that road.
Names. Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. Moving on, number 7. No. Oh, yes. I had to also mention, thank you, Christine. Even if you put a Post-it note, I'm still going to forget it. I wanted to make the selectmen aware that the tax collector, we knew that during tax time she would be working more hours. She is working more hours right now. It's tax time. She's working like 40 hours a week, and Christine has been helping. I'm not making any suggestions. I mean, I brought forward last time we went through the budget, the possibility of a full-time role. I do not necessarily feel that that's necessary all of the time, but it's obvious that there is a lot of work during tax collection time. And that's even with, she is new, so maybe next time it won't be quite as heavy. I don't know, when there's more familiarity. We also instituted the lockbox, which has been helpful for sure. A lot of payments haven't come in that normally would. Those have gone through the lockbox process, and then it's just a matter of us importing a data file. But even with all that, I just wanted to make everyone aware that a lot of hours are being put in right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to ask a question about this, and that is, were the things that that people are bringing in, it's over now for this part of the year. Was it the same company that we've used in the past or anything? Those papers that went out to everybody was very confusing, and people have said that to me. The ones that are about the buildings and stuff are put together one way, and the one with the vehicles are not.
Are you talking about business owners?
No, I'm talking about what everybody gets.
We used QDS, who we've always used. Since I've processed, I have seen things are a little bit different. So there's one format for real estate, one format for personal property, and one format for motor vehicle, but it hasn't changed from how it's been in prior years. So I don't know. But
I will go back and look in
Okay.
my files, because I think it's just a matter that they put them upside down, and it was very confusing.
yeah.
And a man came out and he said to me, "What are they doing in there?" And I was remembering when I was fixing it. I will go and double
Okay.
check it. I just thought, say, maybe because somebody was new, that we hadn't set it out the right way.
No.
Yeah.
And I will say that a lot of people do prefer coming in person to pay. And you do have to pay each bill individually. So if people
Right.
choose to come to town hall to pay, it is going to take longer for the tax collector to process the payments. And a lot of people do not bring their bills. They do not pre-write their check. So any taxpayers listening, any preparation that you do in advance helps out the amount of time that you wait in line. Thank you.
Yes. So anyway, that wasn't my point was just to make the selectmen aware of something that should be kept an eye on when tax collection happens even next time, to see how many hours we've got going there, and it may be something you need to think more about in the future.
I agree, Mike. I think it's probably a 6-month cycle, so we could look at it through this 6 months when, and again, she's new, so there's a learning curve also. But you know, taxes hit, it's busy, then it slows down, then taxes hit again, and then it slows down. So you know, we definitely should keep an eye on it.
Which, by the way, she's doing a great job. Really, really pleased with the work our tax collector's doing. So,
Agreed.
and Christine's really coming up to help a lot. So thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine.
All right, number 7, if I could, 298 Norwich Wesley Road. Okay, so I just brought forward, I forwarded to the selectmen. We basically said, okay, we're putting this back out to RFP. We had no takers. It occurred to me that in order to get the biggest bang for our buck and to try to make sure that we are really getting this out to the whole world, that we should just list the entire property on MLS. I don't see why we wouldn't do that. We already have a realtor on listed for just a small portion of the building. The contract with the realtor is only through December. You know, they're willing to do it. And the only detriment to it is certainly if they were to sell it, that, you know, we'd have to pay them whatever their commission is on it. But that's a great problem to have if we actually came up with a solution. So I would suggest that we actually do list the property with their recommendation for a listing price, and that we see if we get any interest.
So the listing price that's on this is just an arbitrary number.
It's based on the comps that they put together. I mean,
It says MLS list price $12.
that's per square foot. So I think they had a list price of, and I didn't print that for myself because I didn't forward it to Christine. Hang on a second. It was, bear with me a second. They believe an initial listing price of 2.99 million be accepted by us, and they have a feeling as to where they think offers will come in, but they feel like that's a good list price for it. Did you not see that? That was in the
did not see that.
body of the email, which I did forward to you.
No, I saw the $12 on the page, but then I did see it somewhere in the body of the email. Yes, but I guess if they want to put that price out, that's fine. But obviously, a sale of a town building, this will still go to town meeting, correct?
Everything would have to go to a town meeting. I mean, so anyone who actually put in an offer would have to know that their offer is going to have to go to a town meeting for the town to approve. But I see no harm in listing it. You know, I think it's probably the best situation for us right now.
Agreed.
Okay. So why don't we just get a motion to go ahead and list the property fully on the NMLS system with the listing agency of IMT Realty that currently has the middle school wing.
I motion. So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comments on agenda items. Do we have any public comments on agenda items? Bailey?
Yes, Brett Mastriani, you're recognized.
Hello, Brett Mastriani. I just want to say there's a few items that I'm really concerned about. Number one was the vesting, immediate vesting of town hall employees or town employees. The state has a 10-year requirement. Other jobs have 5 that I've been at. I think changing it now definitely impacts a few people at town hall. And it doesn't change the job search for the PDZO, because we're looking for someone that's going to be here long term. So a 5-year requirement helps that person stay longer. It does. Secondly, I'm disappointed in the fact that you guys decided to list the full property at 298. Westerly Road with the current realtor instead of getting presentations by other realtors in the area that could do a better job. I think it's a conflict of interest again that person, this realtor, is connected with Mike in your personal business, and
That's a misstatement.
he's the company and the owner are a member of your BNI group. So that is a definite statement. And your subcommittee that looked into this building and trying to find people for this building 100% agreed that this agent wasn't doing the work necessary in marketing it in a professional manner to commercial businesses. Bob, you were at that meeting, so I wish somebody else spoke up that was at those meetings, because 100% of those members of your subcommittee specifically said that. So I would hope that before you sign this, maybe the selectmen look into that decision. And thirdly, I'm disappointed that, Mike, you're pushing to be the person that decides for EDC and planning and zoning who sits on the hiring committee. We sat at a meeting a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago and came up with a plan. You did not like that plan, so you asked the attorney for more information. Lou, the chair of P&Z, and myself sent you an email stating that it should continue the way it is, where EDC would have the chair, and we would ask at our meetings who else would want to sit in that and present those names to you. And you go and you change it around a little bit. And I don't think that's appropriate, and goes against what that job description was written for. So thank you for your time.
Joe, I see that you're unmuted. Do you have a comment?
Me?
That's you.
Yeah, I'm questioning the August 23rd meeting. Is there only one item with the town meeting going to come up? Is going to be that 155,000 for the fire department?
That's correct.
And the other thing is, should we set a time figure or something on this 298? The reason why I say that, you listen to everything that goes on. I don't know where we're gonna go with a total, but someday we gotta say, this is the end and this is what we're gonna do. I think we should have a time limit on what we're doing with that building. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hearing no other comments, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.